Hey Savita, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Is that Aditya?
Yes, this is Aditya from
Yeah.
Teen Cafe.
Yeah, tell me, Aditya. Hi.
Yeah, so as you know, Teen Cafe is working towards the betterment of the teen community, their mental and physical well-being. And since by your background, you can actually give us some insight on the common problems that teens face today in society.
You want me to go
So,
right
what are
away?
yeah, sure. What are the few things that you've noticed that especially in the 21st century, in this in a current scenario, what kind of problems do teens commonly face?
Yeah, so lots of things actually, and it has gotten complicated over the years, especially because of social media, right? The self-esteem, the self-esteem of the teen, right? This is the time, in fact, 40%, there's research that shows us that 40% of all mental disorders begin from the age of 14 onwards. So it's a very sensitive time. This is actually the most important time where mental health should be looked on and paid attention to, because this is where, if you have a great mental health at this time, it will ensure that you will have a great mental health later. Of course, outside scenarios can happen, but this is the foundation, how you believe and how you think about yourself, right? So I believe the relationship with ourself is very, very important, and it starts right now, because right now you're moving from, being a child into adulthood. So this interim phase is where you're building yourself, right, into an adult. So what is even happening here, and it's a very influential time, like you get easily influenced, teens easily get influenced by a lot of media, a lot of people, the peers. So what is the kind of people that you're interacting with will influence who you are as a person, because this is really the foundation time. So it essentially starts with, you know your self-esteem, and if that is not great, then it results in relationship issues and anger issues, addictions of all kinds, and so many things. Bullying has a huge impact. So we not only have to take care of ourselves, but what are we actually inflicting on others? We have a bigger role as to how we are impacting our teens, our friends around us.
Right. And talking about self-esteem, actually, what are the few things that impact a teen's self-esteem right now? I can think of so many. I can think of social media. I can think of the internet. What do you think about the impact of social media on the teen mental well-being?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a huge impact, and more negative at the moment, because I hear everyone who talks to me, everyone who comes in for therapy, saying that, we've just gone out, we're out of Insta. We don't want to see that. It's affecting us the most. It is actually probably the single most important factor that is really impacting lives of teenagers, where it comes to the mental health, because you're seeing the pictures. Body image is really, really important right now, because you're developing your sense of self at this time, and everybody's putting on these gorgeous pictures, and you just think you're not good enough. So, and the people who get the most attention are the ones probably who look a certain way, your likes. So the whole intention of the whole social media is not just, oh my god, I'm just sharing just like that, but to get those likes mostly, right? To look attractive, to portray certain things, where internally they may not be, that not be the only reality, right? There are times you even look horrible, but you're only putting the best pictures. But for the person who's just watching it, is not understanding that this is not how they look 24/7. This is not how they're always having a great time. So you start getting into a very negative mindset, self-pity mode, and that's not great, because one thing just leads into another. And mostly, I find a lot of people not being able to talk about how they feel. They keep suppressing how they feel emotionally. They don't have friends to talk to. They may have thousands and thousands, and I've actually had real life experience of people who have thousands of followers, and yet they turn around and they say, I don't have a single person I can talk to, I can share what I need to share. And they have to come to a therapist to actually share. Sometimes it's all just about sharing. So that's the irony and of how the situation is now.
So I wanted to ask you, Savita, do you think that teenagers can, like, among themselves, become a community, and like help each other get through problems of teenage? Or do you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run these amazing programs where we talk about life skills. We equipping them with things like managing emotions, understanding self-esteem, the importance of a relationship with self, the importance of the self-talk that we talk, right? We're constantly talking to ourselves, right? The thoughts, how to manage the mind, body image issues, so many topics related to that. We're actually doing a whole lot of life skills, teaching children, empowering, from school to young adults, through their university programs, so that they are more sensitive to all of this, right? So while they take care of their well-being, see, it's only when you understand your own well-being can you then understand the well-being of another. Otherwise, one bully will constantly bully another because they don't understand it themselves. They think, yeah, we went through it and this is it. So I think education and awareness is really, really important. And yes, one person can actually break the whole cycle, of a bully, where there is a lot of bullying happen. And, so many people just want to be part of it. Maybe they don't actively want to, say anything. So definitely it can build a very healthy community. So while I'm saying social media, there's a lot on social media of how to handle all of this. There's so much on mental health and following pages. But I wish, we would do the more preventing part of it than to, and understand for each one what role am I playing into the whole picture for my mental health, and how do I interact, and what are my communications and interactions with my peers, right?
Yeah.
So we definitely have a huge role to play, each one as a teenager, as a youngster, as a young adult. Yes.
So do you also, like, there's this, I think every teenager feels that telling an adult what their problem is would always have the adult, come back to you and say something like, that's not a real problem. I think like we went through that. Like I, as an adult, as a teenager, went through that I started doubting whether my problems were even valid enough to be problems. And do you think there's anything that teenagers and parents or any other adults that they have around them could do to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, because it's important, unfortunately, when I get young people into therapy, it's mostly like, the parents who need the therapy the most, actually, because, at parents, they just don't understand what mental health is. They kind of thought that it's okay, not, it was, the whole focus was do, and nobody asked or, you know, thought about emotions. Like nobody cared about emotions, where they didn't understand what the emotions are. And these are the same very parents who aren't very happy from inside, but just believe in doing what they have to do. So I think, it's this generation of youngsters that need to understand that they are just, they need to get educated themselves and not literally listen to what their parents are saying sometimes, or at least educate themselves about their um, mental well-being. So, which is right that, how does a child even learn, right? Our early childhood is all about learning how we are about ourselves. So very rarely do parents, bring up their children thinking that, oh, I'm going to just build in the belief that they are amazing. My children are amazing and they can do whatever they want. The whole focus has been on correcting them, criticizing them, comparing them, which has really resulted in an absolutely negative self-image for the child. And everything that all of these childhood traumas, if I use the word big trauma, but whatever, the little things to big things, then just start impacting the relationships on the outside, because then we start seeking validation. So it's all very, very connected. So, you know, while we can't put the blame, the most important thing for young adults is to, you know, heal this or understand mental health so that they don't repeat this transgenerational trauma. It passes on generation to generation. You'll see it, you know, if your mom's like that, perhaps Nani or Nana was like that, or your dad's like that, you'll see it running in families. So, you know, it's each one's duty to say, hey, I need to break this, you know. And there are so many young adults who say that I love my parents, but I don't like them who they are as people, and I don't want to be like them. So, you know, it's not for us to change anyone, and we can't, nobody's changing, but we can take that onus and do it for ourselves, right? And not just be victims of what is happening. So yes, you know, self-reflection, understanding, learning more is important.
Right.
So the social stigma surrounding mental health, especially in our society and in our country, how can a young adult actually deal with something like that? You know, how do they open up to friends and family, or even like go up and tell them that, oh, you know, I'm going to therapy, or I want to go to therapy?
Yeah, so you will have to find someone who kind of understands. And if they don't, you know, it's difficult to then sometimes tell them, you know, everything. If they're not going to be receptive, then probably, you know, have that one parent at a time, maybe. Because mostly I see that, you know, the mother is probably scared of the father. And when you do it together, then it's not going to happen. You know, have those conversations. Are you even really happy? Do you do things out of resentment? You know, you could check with your mom or dad. And do you want me to live a life like that? You know, one of the biggest causes of cancer, 95% of all cancers, is resentment, because you're holding that feeling within for several years, which then results in cancer. And like that, similarly, every physical ailment has its roots in the mental health. Mind and body is connected. Everything that we think in our heads, we start feeling in our bodies, right? Even if you think, oh my God, this is going to happen, you start feeling in the body. So it is connected. And eventually all of these diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, all of it has its roots on how you handle stress, how your thinking pattern is. So if you were educated right in the beginning and you knew certain things, you would feel so empowered to know how to control the mind, you know, to use the mind and not let the mind use you. Everything is about the mind, right? What I hear about people now, it's, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm overthinking, I'm doing this. But if you really knew how to maneuver this, the mind, it's just a skill. And if you learned it, energy into learning that, life would become so much more easy, fruitful, enjoyable. You could actually use it to create the life that you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like as teenagers, you know, when I don't know how many people actually end up doing extra. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yeah.
now, sir.
Yeah, so I feel like extracurricular is very important, but obviously, like CBS, like a lot of educational boards don't give it the importance that it needs, and then teenagers are always in a very like confused space about what to do, when to do, and obviously sometimes these things aren't really given the same importance in home environments either. So explaining to your parents that you have a hobby that you would want to, you know, go to pursue after school, all of that. So how do you think teenagers should deal with that, and what is a good way to be communicating that to your parents, or even for parents to be understanding and giving it the importance that it deserves?
So first, to understand, you know, now that you all are getting exposed to so much on mental health, knowing the importance of, yeah, you know, like you do need those hobbies. You can't only constantly study. You know, it's like everybody's burning out now, burning out as young as 20 and 25. First, it was the, you know, midlife crisis, which became the quarter life crisis. And it's just, I see so many youngsters just like, you know, they're just burnt out. They can't function anymore with the stress. So you need to understand, like, it's not about, you know, as you become older, you need to understand this whole phase of adulting, that you have become your own adult, and that you, and even now I see sometimes people are still so dependent on their parents. right? Their view of, they are so shaky about their self-beliefs, but no, their parents may be older. And here I'm just making a general statement that I don't know about each parent, but very often I see that just because parents are older doesn't make them, uh, you know, wiser as to know at least the relationships. People say that everyone who comes into therapy, and this is really 90%, mostly say that their parents themselves don't have a great relationship with each other and so many things. So, these aren't the people that you can really talk to about mental health. While you can probably, if there is a parent who's understanding, a good time or maybe a good thing to do is catch them one-on-one and ask them how they are feeling. Mom, I see you upset. What is it that's bothering you? Your eyes look sad, or why are you angry? Is there something that you're bottling up? In fact, actually start making those conversations about emotions to them. Maybe catch your dad on some day that nowadays I feel that you're getting really angry. Is something bothering you? What is happening? They react, they shout at us, and we slip into a space, and then nothing else is happening. But maybe on a better day, you could start that conversation on a very, if you become older, you can ask them, like, I just see that you're getting angry more and more these days. Maybe they'll say, yeah, everybody's just waiting to talk. I think, nobody has really spoken to them. Even the wife at home or the husband at home, it's just about get the money home, do this, perform this should be done. And nobody's focusing on feelings. So maybe you all can talk that you all look tired today, dad, you look tired. Mom, have you had a rough day? All that we want to hear from them, maybe we can start. And maybe that will break the ice somewhere. And they might say that, yeah, I'm upset, the grandmother did so and so, or your dad said something. So just probably start understanding that, emotions are actually energy and motion, and they are the most important resource. If we don't feel good, we don't even feel like waking up out of bed and doing anything, right? So feeling good about ourselves, feeling good in general is so important to do anything. How long will you push yourself to be able to do things? So yes, these are important conversations to have.
Absolutely. Savita, how do you think the last 2 years with the onset of COVID-19, how do you think the pandemic affected the mental well-being of a teenager? Especially someone who's very used to having people around them, having their friends around them, having that routine of going to school, going for classes, extracurricular activities. How do you think someone can actually come out of the kind of lifestyle that they've been living for the past 1.5, 2 years almost? And what are the difficulties they would face now, going back to society normal actually?
See, this is an age, this age of the youngsters, teenagers. It is about socialization, right? We are human beings. We need physical interaction with people. But at the same time, it also gave us an opportunity to look within. Are we able to spend time with ourselves? We're constantly running away from that pain and stigma, the pain or the trauma that is attached. We don't look at ourselves. Therapy is like, no, we don't want to. So what are we doing? We're kind of distracting ourselves with company, with friends, with alcohol, with this. Because we don't want to feel what we feel, right? The real world for a teenager probably sucks. So they're trying to get, everything in moderation is fine. This is an age of experimentation. But after that, if you're using it, so it's using it to handle your anxiety, using it to de-stress, and these are not healthy coping strategies. You need to address that. Why are you stressed? And what is that deeper thing? But that takes a longer work, right? Everybody's looking for instant gratification now. But it will have its toll, right? You might not pay for it now, but you will pay. And just a little, when we talk about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is the patterned or the habit mind. And at this young age, if you all don't get into the right habits of even thinking, feeling, behaving in certain ways. When I talk to people who are 40, 50, even 60, they say we've been doing this for a very, very long time. Because a body is a machine, because it's programmed, right? It's conditioned. It's like a program setting. And after that, your choice is not yours. So your default setting, it's a good time to see what is the default setting that I want into me. right? So this is just a theoretical thing I'm talking, but it's more personalized to understand about yourself. So often people don't like their own company. Tell me, why don't they like to be alone? Because they don't like their company. So many people say they are hating on themselves. They hate themselves. I mean, that's so terrible. And I'll tell you something, it doesn't stop. If you're hating yourself now, it's not going to change later. So it's really, really important to seek help to correct it now versus ruining relationships, going on ruining relationships further and further, because all your unhealed baggage comes out in intimate relationships outside. The most you'll see, I see breakups, there's patterns and patterns. You break up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you realize, listen, there's a pattern happening. I need to do something. So you cannot expect all this coming from outside. Everything has to be understood within ourselves. And you need, obviously, and this is a space, you need a guide to help you with that, right? It's emotions, it's mind, it's all intangible stuff. So it's hard to do this on your own. So it's as important a skill as any other, like how you go for guitar classes, how you go for something. It's probably important to just, the word therapy becomes like, oh my God, something's wrong with you. But I wish they would turn it into life skills or call it something that one would just know how to, deal with different emotions that come up and what to do with yourself and how to build a healthy relationship with yourself, first of all.
Right. And how important is it to actually love oneself, especially when you want to love another, whether it's your friend or your family, and how deeply your relationships with yourself can affect the ones around you?
Yeah, it is really the most important thing. If only we love ourselves, will somebody else also love us, right? Why will somebody love you if you don't love yourself? Also, we can only give what we have, right? If you see, if your dad or a mom or a teacher or someone, you'll see how they react. Our emotional state is equal to our behavior. If they are very angry within, they're going to spew out anger, right? If you're frustrated, it comes out as harsh voices. Everything, right? So when we are not okay within, if there's no congruence, if we don't love ourselves for who we are, we don't love another, then you're only seeking validation. See, all human beings have a very innate core need of love, respect, peace. And when we don't do it and give it to ourselves, we are seeking it from the outside. We become needy and clingy, and that just spoils relationships. But when we interact with people, being whole and complete from a very loving space within us, those relationships are beautiful, right? Nobody's demanding things of each other.
Right.
But literally, then you're complementing each other and not completing each other. So this is again a very, somebody will come along and complete me. Oh, I need the love of my life, and things like that. But no, that's not. If you're coming from this belief, everything will just go haywire. So first you need to sort out this relationship with yourself. Like I said, if you are very loving with yourself, you will be loving to another.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is this all now? What are we going to do now? This was just an interaction, and then what happens? Like, there's no other. We all the members of the Teen Cafe, is it?
Yeah. So Chavi and I are working towards the project that is Teen Cafe.
Yeah. So tell me a little about you all. I've been only doing all the talking. How old are you? What do you all do?
Well, I'm a third year media student actually, and I'm currently studying in Manipal. I've come home for Diwali, and yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also a media student. I'm also in my third year, and I have been at home. I've been doing my college from home since the pandemic started. And we at Teen Cafe, we're basically trying to create a community which is it has only teens, so it's of the teens and for the teens and by the teens, like our constitution, but like for teens. But yeah, and Actually, I would like to walk everyone through Teen Cafe and basically how the idea of Teen Cafe came about. It's actually everything that we spoke about right now with Savita is what we had in our minds and the founders had in their minds, thinking that there's these problems that exist and like teenagers have real problems, and for some reason nobody thinks that they're real problems and nobody's addressing them. So that's why we thought that there should be a space where, like, I think as adults, we always end up finding a space where, we can go out and say something. And even if we don't find that space with someone else or other people, we know our own outlets a lot of times. But for teenagers who are already trying to navigate through so many changes, and then figuring out, for a lot of teens also, they're changing schools, so figuring out that comfort zone, you are not necessarily sure that your parents will understand what you're saying. So basically, one day we hope that Teen Cafe is this place where every teen finds a place to go out and say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, amazing. Good for you all. Yeah, these initiatives are so important because, it's very hard for parents to let go of their children and think that, the other children can know something more about them. They just think, I am a parent, but honestly, there's just so many things that parents don't understand, the damage that they're doing, and it's like very sad because they are well-meaning parents who want to give the best to their child, but they're damaging their mental health too, without being even conscious of what is happening even sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's what social conditioning does to us sometimes.
Yes. So not only the teen cafe, there should be an adult cafe also for parents and every human being, literally.
Noted. Definitely.
No, but they are not so receptive. Like they are just not so receptive to coming in and thinking that now who's going to teach us something? Like, we're already older people and we've done reasonably well, but yeah.
There's a question from Shikha, and it says, how can we address the underrepresentation of teens in the mental health space?
Meaning, I didn't get the question.
So Shikha asked,
She want to ask,
how we can address, how can we address the underrepresentation of teens in the mental health space? So I think it's about teen mental health not being validated enough, or being taken seriously enough in today's society.
Yeah, and I think that they should have things for parents in schools, for children in schools, for schools to really have this kind of education. While we are taught everything about the pancreas, the liver, and every organ of our body, they are not even talking about what do you do with emotions. Right. Emotions is something we feel all the time. But every time we get angry, people tell us, shut up, don't get angry. Don't shout, don't do this, don't do that. So every time the message is suppress your emotions. They're not real, or you don't need to react. So when these constant messages come in like that, you don't need to get angry, you don't need to react like this, you don't need to this. We start internally understanding that maybe we're not right about our emotions. Yeah, we don't start listening to our emotions. And that's very, very detrimental. All of the people who are, sad and depressed are the ones who have bottled up their emotions, right? Within, which has no vent and no outlet. Who do you talk to? And because you all are young, the teenagers are young, they think they're wrong then, they start believing their parents. But right. Yeah, so if they started learning something in school, right, at a school level, if we had more programs like this, we had these life skills, say 30 hours, 15 hours, something, some basic things, and some places where these conversations happen, they would know that they are not wrong. What we feel is what makes us real. So I've seen people just shut down. They become numb only sometimes because they don't know what else to do, right? Because there's so much pain buried there that they don't want to feel the pain. So in fact, it's not coming from a place of, where youngsters run to get solace either from comfort food, binge eating or alcohol, because the root cause is not addressed. If someone was happy and cool, they would never do all of this. So we really need to get to the underlying cause of it, than actually just label them as something.
Right. So I think it all starts from education, and not just educating young adults or teens, but educating adults as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, many times I've seen as a therapist, I have a lot of people, and when I'm talking about young adults, it's the 20s to the 30s or early 20s, who are actually getting their parents into therapy, while they become adults and they understand that they cannot take the emotional burden. Most often parents also share a lot to their growing children, right, about their traumas. And the child feels very emotionally burdened and not being able to do anything, right? So they are directing them to therapy, which is something really amazing. So, that's great. You can only extend, say, you need help, just talk, be open, having those conversations. Because the adults need it. They really, really need it. And so often it's just like the vaccine, everybody needs to get into this journey of understanding themselves to be better, not for anybody else, but to lead a better quality of life for themselves, so that they don't get into physical illness. At this age, the age of parents also, if they're going to bottle up all of this, it shows up in physical ailments, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Can we wind up now?
we'll wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have to attend something else.
Thanks for coming in. Just to kind of, I heard you asking how is it going to go from here. My name is Manoj Telakat. We run this community called the BSEI, and we are conducting an education expo called the EduWeave. This is the third edition of it, and it is the largest online education expo, which is conducted by a parent-led community. So I represent that community, and Little Goodness is our health partner in this. So thanks much, Chavi and Aditya, for being here. And a big thanks to you, ma'am, because I was listening to the discussion in the back end. Quite a lot of insights in terms of, I'm getting some personal messages also from people who are watching this. I mean, even your idea of adult cafe, somebody has picked it up and saying that why don't we look at that as a next thing.
Yes.
So thank you so much. And I do have a teenager of mine who's also a volunteer in this, and she's also part of the discussion that is happening now. So just to tell you what happens, this being streamed live in our auditorium, which is the EduWeave Education Expo auditorium, and a lot of people are watching it from there as well. The same thing will be on our auditorium for the next 2 days, where people can come and watch it. And the same will be in our YouTube and Facebook groups as well. We are a parent community of 56,000 plus parents, and we are one of the largest and most active online parent communities. So that's a brief of us, and we are partnering with Little Goodness because they are part of this expo, and they are our health partner for this, and that's the whole agenda for this. We are having quite a lot of panel discussions. We just finished one on how sports and music and dance can impact education. We are having one on mental health and children. Tomorrow there is one specific discussion which is happening on homeschooling and alternative education later today. So quite a lot of panel discussion. In fact, 18 panel discussions are happening through these 3 days now. So thanks from our side for being part of this and sharing your thoughts on this. And special thanks to Harsha and team from Little Goodness. And hats off to you guys. Did very well, Chavi and Aditya.